Hello, my name is Scott Fratcher, captain of the Mariah, a Katana 582 for the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, we've sailed Mariah from New Zealand to the Tuamotus, which is about 2,000 miles upwind, and back to Tonga, which is maybe 1,500 miles back downwind, and then back upwind to Tahiti again, and that's kind of where we're stationed right now. And I want to talk to you about sailing a Katana 582 and kind of, I guess, some of the strong points and maybe some of the benefits of big cat sailing. And one of the ways I plan to do that is to show you some video clips of riding downwind in 40 knots of wind that we did for a few days on end, and I kind of want you to see what it's like inside the boat and what the seaway is like. And one of the reasons for this is that most of the time people don't get to experience such conditions. And we probably wouldn't have either, except we were on a timeline, and some of the people that were on board, the crew, they really want to know what a big cat was like for rough weather sailing. They had done a lot of sailing on big monohulls. Incidentally, like a Katana 582, a 58-foot catamaran might be equal to something between 80 and 85 foot in a monohull. And that's the kind of boat that our friends had been sailing when they decided to come with us to deliver this catamaran from French Polynesia to Tonga. And when they saw on the weather charts a deep low was going to intersect us, and we were sitting in port, of course, and didn't have to leave, but we made the decision, let's go on out and see what this boat would do in 40 knots of wind, and what would, in big seas, it's southern hemisphere sailing, there's the possibility of long breaking waves, and what would this boat do in situations like that. So we made the decision, and we departed. And I'll show you the last few photos here of the interior. So obviously it's a very comfortable boat, as lots of catamarans are, but we're gonna take a look now and see what the boat looks like, not sailing like this on calm sea conditions as you would, but here we go. This is probably about 40 knots of wind over the sea right there, and boat's probably doing about 10 knots. That's our looking back at the stern at a wake right there. You can see right now we're just launching off of a wave and accelerating downhill. And there's our apparent wind right there, 30 some knots, 31 knots. And the boat's doing probably about 10 knots. And so what we have is 40 knots over the water, 30 knots over the deck of the boat, 10 knots of boat speed. And that's probably quite a rare situation right there. In today's world with weather forecasting, you could do a complete circumnavigation and never get into conditions like this. You'd see it coming on the weather chart, and you'd move out of the way, or drive a different direction, or you'd choose a spot. We chose to go into these conditions right here, and so I don't want you to kind of feel scared or think that this is what typical sailing is like, but I do want you to kind of feel the experience. You see that sail up there? That's a triple reefed mainsail, and we're broad reaching in these conditions, and we could probably shake a reef if we wanted to and be running a double reefed mainsail. But we wouldn't want to do that. The boat would probably accelerate from maybe running at 10 knots, would probably get up there to about, would probably accelerate up, and would probably be doing 12 and 14s. And 10 knots is really comfortable. You're going along, you're making over 200 miles a day, a little less than 250, and so you're kind of balancing along 2 1/4, something like that. I don't know if you just noticed. Hey, watch this breaking wave right here. These are real seaways right here. You got to remember that all these photographs and this video is being taken from about 12 feet off the water. So that was a pretty good acceleration right there. Look at this one. Yeah. Now on many boats, you'd be like, I guess you'd say that you'll be holding on tight in conditions like this. And in a few minutes, we'll show you what life is like down below. You can see the size of these waves, how long those. It's always tough to look at a computer screen and get an idea of how big the seas are, but you can see how long it took that sea to work its way underneath the boat, and that kind of gives you an idea of how big the seas are.
Well, it's a marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars up above in your eyes.
So here we are down below, And there's Allison, and she's setting up for cooking. You'll notice she's not strapped in, and nothing is really tied down. There's somebody else walking over with the cookbook, taking a look. And you might even, like, if you looked at these photos, you might think that we're just sitting in port. But you look out the window right there. There's a breaking wave going by, and check out that GPS. What are we doing there? We are doing 9.9, 10 knots, 9.8, 9.7. 9.6, 9.5. Now, I want you to notice the rate at which the GPS is changing speed right there. We just went from 9.5, and we just went up to 10.2. This is one of the reasons that I don't want a really, really light catamaran. Because that speed will change from, let's say, at the bottom, when you're in the bottom of the wave in the trough, you might be doing 8 knots, and you'll accelerate to, let's say, 14. And you hear a lot of people talk about this. Oh, we came off the wave, we were doing 16 knots, and it's like a good thing that they discuss. And it is a good thing if you're racing around the buoys. But when you're crossing an ocean, and this is going to go on for days on end, then I don't want my body to accelerate and decelerate, and accelerate and decelerate. That tires me out. And so I don't know if you saw the look or the rate of change on that GPS. It was quite slow. And what that means is that it's a very steady boat. It means you can set down a cup of coffee. It means you can stand in one place and not get thrown all over the boat. That's why nobody's strapped in the galley, because yes, the boat's doing 10 knots. Sure, she's covering 225 miles in a day in these rough conditions, but it's not throwing the people around. It's not throwing the human cargo around, if you will. Look at the size of those waves. Man, I'll tell you, I could just sit there all day. But instead, we made landfall, and here's Pete to wrap it all up. You can see more at yachtwork.com or multihullcompany.com. That's yachtwork.com and multihullcompany.com.
Well, it's a marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars up above in your eyes.